Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Tea Time. Thank you for hanging out with us. This is Tea Time with Amie and Bev. Good morning.
Good morning.
No, you can see the smoke going on. Bev saging us, and
That's right.
it's very beneficial for us. And you can receive that energy virtually as well. You don't have to be right in it. So
Nope, just
take that
energy.
in.
Yeah, there's energy, no separation. It's just like it's being in your living room, your bathroom, wherever you're at right now, your office.
Right.
Doesn't matter. It's all energy, no separation.
Just take it in. So what's
That's
happening,
right.
my friend?
I will always say I'm enjoying life. I'm at this place of enjoying life. You know, I recognized yesterday, I've been going because it was Father's Day on Sunday, right? So, and I go through this process. There's still grieving that I'm experiencing, missing of Jim, and I probably feel a lot of the kids stuff too. But then I recognized what hit me, and I had to record myself because I have a tendency, things hit me, and I think, well, that's good for somebody. It's good for me. And I record it onto my cell phone and I send that message to myself. So that way I have it immediately. So anyone out there thinks they don't have a time or can't do something, they want to write something down real quick, write a note. You can digitally record your voice now on a lot of the phones and then send it to yourself, your cell phone number, and it just shows up in there. So then you can go back and review it and listen to it, which we've kind of talked about, but I'm just bringing it up again.
Yep.
But I'm sitting there going through this process, and then I realize if I'm missing something, wait a minute, this is like an immediate notification to myself. How am I vibing right now? Because there's just as we just started the conversation, there is no separation. The sage is in your room. It's in your face right now because there's no separation. So it really just got into your face right now. That's what
I know this big smoke went on.
Telling you, doesn't want to go out. But it's like, with that being all said, it's letting me know that that's the space where I was at. That's where I was at right then. So I was not vibing at a very high vibration. So what? It's just another thing of my space of awareness that I can look at myself and be like, wait a minute, this is how I'm feeling right now. This is why this is showing up, because there truly is no separation. There is no separation from us and anyone. It doesn't matter if you're across the world on another planet, in the non-physical, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's no separation. And then that's it. For me, that was a huge reminder. It's like, wait a minute, like my gauges went off and it's like, alert, alert, alert. You don't have to be in this space. Why are you acting like this? Because in that space, I felt that I was missing that. That didn't exist. That was a loss. It was a lack. It never got completed. You know, all these feelings and these emotions come up, and I realize now that that was all it was. And it wasn't for me to be in that victim mode and feel sorry for myself. It was for me to check my gauges. Really, that's all it was.
And did you know a physical difference, like your actual physical body feeling different when you were in that space of I miss you?
Yeah, it's heavy. I felt depressed. I felt heavy. I felt stuck. I felt like, why am I still here? Like, why am I still here going through these processes? Because it doesn't feel good. And then it's like, that's the whole thing. Why am I going through these? Because I don't have to. That's the whole thing. I don't have to. And nothing was ever complete. Nothing is ever finished. Nothing is ever completed. Nothing's ever done. Ever.
And I know in my body that when I'm feeling those, like the sadness, depression, or closed off, my shoulders come, like they'll be heavy, right? Like you said, there's a heaviness and I slouch more. And what that does is it's actually constricting my heart center, which is super important because that's where, to me, that's where our spirit is located and resides, in that space of love. But also think of it like your lungs are being constricted, your organs are being constricted, and it's just ah.
Just like you said, it's closed off.
Yeah.
Just like you said, that's all closed off. That is all closed off. And that's exactly it. That's exactly it.
And then maybe, I'm exaggerating while I'm sitting here, but I mean, it just a little bit of a drop is noticeable.
It is.
For the physical body. And when I'm feeling good, when I'm feeling connected, when I'm feeling in that happy or joyful state, I'm more up, right? We're more up and our chest is more exposed to receive love and give love. And it's like feeling, it's not a strain to sit upright and have those shoulders back. It's more of a sensation of being strong, like my body's strong and I'm supported in my back, because the back is the support system of our body. So I'm feeling supported, and just recognizing, Bev and I talk about this all the time. Recognize what your body is experiencing.
Yeah. And then being upright, you're in alignment, right? So that alignment, the spine in alignment is just a smooth flow. There's like no break in that flow that's coming into us, that divine flow. I heard an amazing quote a couple days ago, and it says, life doesn't get easier. We just get better at it.
Nice.
And that's
like that.
Yeah. And for me, that feels so truthful. It feels so honest. Because because other people can look at it and think, oh, life's so easy for you. No, it's just the way that I'm taking life. You know what I mean? It's being confident. It's not being fearful. It's not living in the space of fear. And it's not being motivated by fear. So
and that's
just
what we can do. Get better and better.
Exactly. And then it's just gives someone else permission to give themselves permission. Oh my gosh, I don't have to fit into this cookie cutter mold. I can be different. I can be me. What does that look like?
Yeah. Because we've been hiding for so long.
Yeah.
Of fear of being who we are or who you want to be. Sometimes we're one way for a while, and then after a while, maybe that doesn't work anymore, and you shift, you change, you make it, that's okay too. It's not, this is who you are and you have to be like this till you take your last breath. Bev and I aren't the same as we were last week or a year ago or 10 years ago. Like, we're continuously evolving. We're discovering still, what is it we like? What do we enjoy? What do we don't like? Because we still have those experiences as well. Something comes into our experience and we're like, oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure I like that. But we don't know what we don't know until we know. So evolution is always change. We talked about that before. It's change. That evolution and change is constant. It is continuous and it is guaranteed.
Yep. Take it or leave it, like it or not, however you want to say that. It's happening. Because you're different, your cells change. Even if you try to struggle to try to keep seeing exactly the same thing, same ways they've been, you can't, because you've already evolved. There's already been shifts, there's already been changes.
Yes. And there you have it. That's tea time. No, I'm kidding.
Have a nice week. We'll talk to you guys later.
Short, sweet.
I want to go back. You had mentioned about prayer, and it's like prayer is in so many different factors, and prayer can be taken religiously, or I don't feel like it has to be. I think that religion took it and did whatever they wanted to with it. But prayer is such an amazing thing. And, we have life experiences that we kind of forget, even when our loved ones transition stuff, they can still use our prayers. The people that are left behind, whether you are happy with them or not happy with them, it's saying a prayer. We still have so much more control over things. If something feels like it was a wrongdoing, then we can, instead of pushing against it, then it becomes a prayer for that person to be able to step forward in their own confidence, in their own power, and in their own integrity, and say exactly what had happened or in any situation, because we've had conversations with people and stuff happens. But we forget about that because we get angry and we feel like we've got to judge that. We feel like we've got to push against that. We've got to be that warrior and go out there and fight the world. But all that push does is just get pushed. It pushes back against you. So it's just, for me, it's just reminding myself, and for anyone that's choosing to listen, that it's an opportunity for us to pray for those people. which also leads me right into judgment. So, and something else I've recognized in the last day or so, and I have before, but now it was like resounding. When we choose to judge another person, place, or thing, we're actually advertising that we want that experience for us. And then when the experience shows up for us, we can learn how to become in this neutral place because that neutral place means that you have empathy or sympathy. You have an understanding about how this happened to someone else, or how a person may feel like they don't care for their gender and they want to be something else, or someone that's changed their gender and want to come back. It's not being like, I told you so. It's not being any of those things, because we're not in a space of judgment. It's being in a neutral space and loving that person, place, or situation for where they're at. And if we can't love it, it's just finding a place that we're okay with it, where that we're neutral. So we're not pushing against it or advertising, saying, I want more of that, but we're also moving forward from it, and we're not bringing it forward karmically for ourselves.
Well, when you were talking, I got my Google, and I said, what is prayer? Prayer is an invocation or act that seeks to activate a rapport with an object of worship through deliberate communication. In the narrow sense, the term refers to an act of supplication or intercession directed towards a deity or a defied ancestor.
And to me, the whole thing I heard was communication. Out of all that you said, all it is a form of communication.
And then it says, there said purpose, and it says prayer provides answers. Praying and listening to the answers God gives you can help you better understand your purpose in life. God will help you understand why you're here and what you can do to return to live with him after this life. It's a communication with your higher source. It doesn't have to mean it's the word God. You've heard us. We use source, divine, love, spiritual team, universal team. It's a conversation between you and your spiritual source. And it includes faith, believing in something that you cannot yet see. Yeah. And it's energy. And we've been talking quite a bit over this past year about asking the unit, like just putting it out there. You could just sit and talk to the wall and ask the wall, what is, how can I learn more about prayer? Right? You're just talking to the wall. And then next thing you know, you hear conversations about prayer. You're hearing the radios talking about prayer. You're hearing, it's because we've activated that into our mind. And then the mind's like, oh, this is what she's looking for. And then it just starts showing up in all kinds of different areas. And here's the interesting thing about that. All of that was already there. You were just not in a space to receive that information yet, or interested, just having an interest. So similar to, you decide you want to buy a new car and you're interested in a Toyota truck, let's just say white Toyota truck. And then all of a sudden it just seems like everybody in your city is driving white Toyota trucks. They were always there. You were passing them every day on the road. You just weren't interested at that time. So you have to open up the mind, open up the receiving receptors within yourself to activate that topic for it to start flowing to you.
Let's remember, we have access to all information. So with that being said, if I sit in front of my computer and I have access to all all information, if I have access to all this information, well, I've got to ask the computer something. It's not just going to go to the place where I want it to go to. If I don't have it,
that's what I just did with Google, right? I'm like,
yeah.
What is prayer? Same thing with the universe. What is prayer? How can I learn more about prayer, right?
Yeah, but it's not going to come to you unless you ask for it. So that's us learning how to ask, and we can go back to our conversations we've talked about before. When we're younger, we learn to keep our mouth shut, to go sit and be heard or seen and not heard. And, all these conversations that happened when we were younger, and then you got picked on at school, or you raised your hand and you said something and the whole class laughed at you, whatever happened. And then you shut down and you quit asking questions. You quit asking questions outside of self, but you quit asking questions inside of self. And this is reminding us that we have all this, we have so much that we have available to us, and it's not going to show up unless we ask for it.
Right. And we are creative beings. And it's
Yes.
okay to have material stuff. It's okay to ask for more. It's okay.
That's part of our evolution. I mean, part of it is doing that, having those experiences, learning more of what we like and what we don't like, and then what will we do with that information, what we like and don't like. Like what are you going to cultivate from that? So many amazing things.
If I would have thought about it years ago, I'm talking like 23 years ago, at least 22 years ago, this room that I'm in, if I would have thought about it to take pictures every time it changed.
Well,
this room has changed. Just this room in our house has changed so many times. And every time there's something different, something new, something given to us, it's just constantly changing. And what you see right now is not it, because there's more that I'm processing to do. And so it's going to change again. And change is just maybe adding a picture behind me or adding, bookshelves behind. I don't know yet.
whatever
And it's
floats
okay.
your boat. Yeah.
Right. I love that.
In that moment. And then we don't beat ourselves up about, oh gosh, that used to be my style. That's not my style anymore. We don't beat ourselves up about that. We just evolve through it. And then you got someone to give all the style to, because someone else likes that style. And now you got a new style and they're like giving you some of their stuff because they don't like that style anymore. That's all it is. We're constantly changing, constantly. There's a constant shift going on. Thank God. I wouldn't want to be the same. I love changes, really. I love it. All of it. I'm like,
Yeah. Well,
okay.
really, if we hadn't changed, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Oh no, exactly.
We wouldn't be doing this.
Exactly. They wouldn't
If
be
I
in
wasn't doing it, you most likely wouldn't be doing it either, because I was poking and prodding you.
I'm sorry. It's true. Very true.
Or later, I mean, seriously, if we hadn't changed, none of this would be what it is.
We'd all be back in the caveman stages still.
Seriously.
I mean, there's high potential for that. Thank God we had change.
What if we had never had electricity invented? What if we had never had fire invented? What if?
Yeah.
If I mean, seriously, think about it. If however fire was invented or discovered, if we didn't know about that, the only way that I can see, thinking way back caveman type days, right, is through lightning striking something and catching it on fire. Could you imagine that's still what we had? Like, we'd be walking around and then all of a sudden there's lightning and then there's fire.
Wait, hurry up, grab a stick. That's
Evolution is good. Evolution is good.
And we're amidst it right now, no matter what. And I mean, like, we go back to that conversation. It's like, it's happening with you. You can ignore it, but it's still happening.
You're still a part of the wheel.
Yeah, if you can try. But it's like, and that's the whole thing. We're all connected. And we go back to conversations. Everybody is outside of us is mirroring something with inside of us. Everybody is on our team, honestly. They're just showing up whatever we're putting out, or whatever our expectations are, or whatever we created, whatever we're thinking about. We can say it a million different ways.
Yeah. Sometimes, I don't know where I was going with this. Anyway, that happens too.
That's all right. It'll come back. It'll like recalibrate itself, and then it'll be like, okay, now I'm ready.
Now I got it.
Now I got the complete thought to come
Might be
through.
at midnight tonight, but you know what? It'll happen.
I'll go back to reminding people to feel things. So if the word God doesn't feel right, like say, just sit in quiet and say the word God. And if that doesn't feel right, then try on the universe, try on the source, try on, whatever feels good. Is you've got to kind of learn what feels good to you. And then also at the same point, if you say the word God, then ask yourself, what is this trigger if you're being triggered from it, so that you can evolve from that. It's being more open to the spirituality. It's not, maybe there was a bad experience for you or put a bad taste in your mouth, but it's us learning how to, wait a minute, that triggered me. How can I evolve through this? Like what is my body trying to tell me? What is my spirit trying to tell me? Just listening to all that stuff. It's just going back to and listening to the communication that you're receiving, feeling it.
And it's not just with source, not just with your spiritual team, it's person in front of you.
Yes.
Person on the other end of the phone. It's the person doing the reading. So being aware, I had a huge opportunity of practicing this over the weekend, and it's like my spidey senses is telling me you were doing things that you aren't doing what you said you were doing. So it's your truth detector.
True. And how often have we ignored that truth detector?
Oh man.
And that's the ignoring of anything, ignoring of the messages that come in, ignoring of all the opportunities that present themselves, because the more and more you ignore them, I don't feel like they disappear. I just feel like that you become numb to them, so you don't notice them. So that's why the communication with your body is important. That's why communication with feeling how words feel to you is important. That's why the communication is like really trying to decipher something before someone says something, not assuming it, but when their energy walks in, like really feeling how they feel, so that you have an understanding of how you're going to be the best version of yourself during this conversation. And sometimes it's just walking over and giving that person a hug.
Or saying a kind word to them.
Yeah.
And feeling, so there's many different forms, there's different forms of communication. It's looking at somebody's eyes, it's their facial expression, it's their body language, it's their energy. It's the words that they're speaking or not speaking. Right? So there's different forms of communication, and developing your skills in navigating those conversations where there are words spoken or unspoken. So like you and myself in coaching people, people get used to using certain words and saying things a certain way, and it's so repetitive that they're not really hearing themselves and what they're saying. And as coaches, we take the whole package, right? The words, their energy, their body language, their facial expressions, their eyes, and we take that and we we connect to or hear what they're not saying. And then we start being investigators, right? We start getting inquisitive and asking questions. And through those questions, it makes a person think differently. And then through that process, then it helps them realize what they've been saying or not saying.
It's true. And sometimes you can point it out gently. I mean, it's just saying,
right,
Are you aware, or, have you thought that sometimes when you say these things, like, how does that make you feel? Just kind of putting it to where they can process things. And it's just, for some people, it's just planting the seed and then them they let days later, hey, I realized, what I was grasping onto, or what I was hanging on to so dearly, that I didn't really want to have in my experience anymore, but I was still holding on to it. Like them realizing it, even though you already saw it, I had seen it on some people, and it's like you already knew right away, but they weren't in a space to hear that right yet. And you could tell by the conversation. I mean, there's just so many things that you're listening to. And lucky for me, I've been able to do massage. So that's actually helped me gain more confidence, but I'm also in someone's energy a little bit differently. So then I can start seeing how's the body speaking without them saying any words. How's the body speaking? So I get that opportunity. And people talk about being an empath is such a horrible thing, but it really isn't, because I can be in someone's space. And if all of a sudden I'm feeling like I don't want to be here anymore, I'm tired, I just don't want to do this anymore. And then I realize I know this is not mine. And I bring it, I've brought this up before, but bringing words to that way that person was feeling, because that person wasn't willing to have these conversations, because from the outside, some people look like that everything's fine. I'm happy. They got the jokes. I always had the jokes too, but they got all the jokes and everything like that. And it gives you a misconception. But when you really feel that person that's sitting in front of you, you recognize other things, and it kind of helps. Gosh, if you're in a space of being depressed and unhappy, and you're just tired, you just don't want to go on any further, to be seen is like such a huge deal to me. For that person to know that I heard you, I hear you, without you even saying your words. To me, that's huge. So that's like, that's a blessing. These are blessings, because then I can share that with the other person. It's not like, oh God, look at me. No, it's like, I see you. It's because it's not about me. It's right. We go back to the conversation. It's about it's about all of us. So I see you and feel you. You're not alone. Even though you think you're alone, you're not.
And it's up to the other person to receive that,
Absolutely.
gentleness and that kindness and the compassion and the empathy and the love.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, and I've done it myself. And I talked about this not too long ago, that practicing of looking into somebody's eyes when I talk to them and really acknowledging them. And, as an introvert or being shy, we don't want you looking at us, right? We're like, okay, Bev, thanks for, we're looking
Yeah.
everywhere but you.
Yeah.
And it's bringing in that nurturing, sensation that the little people inside of us is seeking. But as adults, we don't know how to receive that, because we didn't get it as little people, right? And so that's an interesting dynamic, to bring that type of energy into an intimate space like that when you're talking to somebody.
And then you go back to even being kids, we were raised to be so independent. And I think that we were started off too long. That independence creates separation. And now that I see it, I was proud of my independence. I was proud that I gained this. I was proud that I didn't ask my parents for money. I was proud, I was proud for all these things. Proud. I was independent. Could I have used the help? Oh, you bet your ass I could have used the help so many times, but I was proud, right? I was proud because I had this independence, but it's like, it's not about the independence. The independence makes you think that you're separate from everyone else, and you've got to do this by yourself from an early age. We learned this from an early age. We've been taught this because our parents were taught that, their parents were, I mean, it goes on and on and on. And it's still happening today. But it's to recognize that all this independence it's not really great. It's realizing how we all can be together, like how we can all grow together without feeling like we have to fix anything, because it's not our job to fix things or fix anyone, because there's nothing wrong with anyone. Everyone's on their own personal journey. However that looks for them is fine. It may not be acceptable for you, but that's their journey. So we allow them their journey for their growth. but we just learned too early on that independence is like the key thing. And to me, that independence created a separation from us. And then we lose the idea of team in a lot of ways.
And you think about cultures too, that, in some cultures, they have big families and they get together and they talk over each other and it's loud. And then there's disagreements and they express themselves. And other cultures, there's quiet and there's connection, and there's also, you're going to do it our way. You're going to do it the way we've been doing it for so long, for decades. And when you start learning or looking outside of your culture or your family dynamics, and you start, you just turn your head and you're like, oh, look what they're doing. I like that. And that really feels good to me. And you start to step outside of the dynamics of what you were brought up in. Then the family may look at you like you're being a rebellion. Why are you doing it that way? We never done it that way. We've always done it this way. And that person, because that feels good, now they're feeling a little bit of independence, right? Because they're like, I want to know more about that. But the family keeps, give them a hard time or don't support them in that decision. And that can seem difficult when you're stepping outside of those dynamics that haven't evolved over over decades.
Yeah. And that's where you stand in your power. I mean, that's where you honor yourself, by standing in your power. And when you stand in your power, you're not affected by others' expectations of you. But when you're raised in that, it's to me, I don't think it's going to come out overnight. I think it just takes a little bit of a process, because you're learning how to be yourself again, whatever that looks like, or finding yourself. It's a process.
Yeah. And it's okay to explore.
It is.
And people are going to give resistance. People are going to be resistant to you exploring and doing things differently and discovering yourself, your likes, your dislikes. You're going to be able to practice compassion and empathy, and kindness. But it's, sometimes it's do I make the change because I like that, or do I stay the same because I don't want to deal with the backlash?
Yeah. And it's being what you want, right? Yeah, it's kind of a, because if you want to experience all those things, you need to be those things. And if you don't know how those things feel, then you ask yourself how does that feel? Help lead me in this direction by the asking.
And each generation that decides to stay the same. So you got grandma, mom, daughter. Grandma, who's done the same thing for eons, has a daughter. The daughter is brought up in that family, but she's drawn to doing something different, but the family keeps, putting their thumb on her. And then the daughter has a daughter. So now we have the granddaughter. The mom, the energy of that mom desiring something different, but choosing to remain the same because of the backlash, that's teaching her daughter or the granddaughter that we have to sacrifice. We have to conform. We have to do what everybody is telling us to do, so that we don't get in trouble. We don't get exiled. We don't get banished. So we're teaching, I know that, and that's some of the things that I learned. This is how we do it, and we're not changing this. It's like, but this don't feel good. So we're teaching each generation to not have that independence to explore and to have that self-discovery. Some cultures, like, you're going to be some kind of a doctor, because everybody in our family, that's what they do. They become doctors.
Yeah.
And you can't do anything outside of that choice. Well, what if I want to be a business coach? And it's so much more enjoyable. And I get to create my own schedule, and I get to vacation more often. And I actually make more money because I'm not having to pay all these debts that has piled up because of my studies, right? No, you're going to be a doctor.
Which tells everybody it doesn't matter what you want. Doesn't matter what you think. I mean, that's all. There's a whole lot there. There's a whole lot of honoring of self that can be done. It's an opportunity to be like, wait a minute, this isn't jiving with me. And it's being able to stand on your own at that time. But when I say on your own independently, it's not always independently, because on your own might be with a like-minded group that helps support you. This is a supportive group. And if we don't have that on the physical, we certainly have it in the non-physical.
Right.
And then how do we know if we're feeling it or not? Is it how are we feeling? Do I feel separate from it? Do I feel alone? Am I feeling sad? And when you get into these situations, because like I said, I was having my Sunday moments, my Father's Day moments, and then recognizing who shows up in your experience. Like when you're in these spaces of this energy, and you no longer have access to family members or to someone that has been in these type of experiences where someone's been maybe more controlling or had expectations or whatever the case might be. But being in that space and then recognizing I was in this energy when I bumped into this person and I haven't seen him forever. And so that was awesome. It wasn't like, oh Lord. No, it was like, oh, okay. So I see where I'm at right this moment.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just another gauge, and it wasn't saying that the other person was bad or anything like that, but I know how I was feeling. So for me to run into or see someone when I'm in this energy just told me everything. It told me everything I needed to know in that moment. And I had an opportunity right then. I can sit and feel sorry for myself in the space and feel separate, or I can recognize it that it's all we're all connected.
And if you stayed in that space, who else would you have bumped into to
Absolutely.
practice more?
Yeah, more like-minded, more like energy.
Right?
I'm a magnet.
How much more practicing do you want in one day, Beth?
Exactly. Well, I kind of, but the awesome thing is it's so short-lived. These are short little blurps of things that have happened. And I would tell you probably for a couple days in and out, I was in that space. Like, and then I couldn't remember why. And then I pop on the Facebook and then, I see one of my kids post up something and I was like, oh, okay. And now I know. I mean, this is how I've been feeling for a few days. Didn't realize it. It was kind of peeking in and out. And I wasn't, so not back to autopilot. And that's what I was thinking about. So yesterday, my granddaughter gets here and she is such a good listener. When she'll start to do something, I'll be like, wait, listen, because we're getting ready to do a task. And if we're going to do this task, you got to listen because I need you to get certain supplies. So she'll start getting off to do something. I'm like, wait a minute, you got to listen. And she's listening perfectly. Well, I say perfectly. She was listening. It doesn't have to, she was listening.
Yeah.
Perfectly, like it was in my ideal
Right.
way that it was happening. How
Your
stupid
idea of
that
being
sounded.
perfect. How old
I
is
just caught
she?
myself. Yeah, no kidding. But so anyway, so she's listening and then she goes and gets the stuff. Well, later in the day, we're out playing and stuff, and then she's just not listening. I mean, she's not listening at all. And she was back to autopilot. So we do this autopilot thing all the time, and she's only 3. So she's going back to what she knows because she's tired. At this point, she's tired. She needs to take a nap. So I'm like, we're gonna go take a nap. And she's like, I don't want to. And I said, yeah, but we get to go recharge our bodies. And she's like, oh, okay. So I said, when you wake back up, you're going to feel like you're recharged and ready to go, and we'll go play somewhere. And she's like, okay. So we went and did that, and the rest of the day was awesome, but I got to witness it. This is another thing. If we don't have awareness, you don't witness these things. And it's not that the kids, and I noticed the kids too feel like when their babies are met, screwing around, ignoring them and stuff, they're just autopilot. They're going back to autopilot because this is what they know, because they're tired, they're hungry, they're thirsty, whatever it is, they're out of balance right now. They're out of harmony. And it's like, you can take defense to that. And I have witnessed that they become defensive, like they're doing this against me, because I did the same thing when they were little. I would have taken offense to that. Now I'm becoming defensive because you're not listening. I told you to do something and you're blatantly ignoring me. But if they're on autopilot, they can't hear, see, or feel anything because they're out of harmony. Something needs to be addressed. And with us being guides and being here a little bit longer, and they're just remembering to walk and run and play and stuff like that, it's very beneficial for us to check in with them. Like, where are you guys at right now? Do we need to go get some food? Do you need some drink? Do you need to go take a shower? Because showers are awesome. Baths are awesome because that helps cleanse away a lot of the energy. If your kids come home from school and they're in a freaking crazy mood, sad, depressed, crying, angry, go take a shower. Here, go take a shower. I'll put this little smelly salts in there. Make it inviting for them, because some kids don't want to take showers. But you find ways to do that. And when they come out, they're quiet, they're calm, they're peaceful. And we can do the same for ourselves. But it just goes back to my whole conversation is being on autopilot. When we start becoming all those same things, when something becomes out of balance, out of harmony, we're no longer able to have such a strong awareness on what's going on around us or inside of us, because we haven't honored ourselves. We haven't given ourselves that break. We haven't listened.
And you think about it too, that I'm just using a nap as an example, is the child is obviously tired. And as an infant, when an infant wants something, they cry, right? They get fussy.
That's their communication.
So you take a 2-3-year-old, 5-6-year-old, that's what they know to do, right? That's our programming. This is uncomfortable. All I know how to get this addressed is by being fussy or crying or acting out. And then the parenting in their best way that they know how in that moment, yells at the kid, go to your room, take a nap, right? So then it sounds like a punishment.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to go to my room, right? Because now I'm getting in trouble. And my punishment is I need to go to bed. So there's this association of what a nap is to them. To us, we're just like, go freaking take a nap. You're making me crazy right now. Right? You're acting out. You're misbehaving. You're not listening. But in our heightened angst as a parent, the child what the child senses is, I'm in trouble. And so, like you're saying, how can we reframe that? I like that you said, well, if we go lay down, we're going to recharge our bodies and then we can play some more and it's going to be more fun, or, however you said it. And it's like reframing those things. Because as parents, I know I did this, I had my own stuff I'm dealing with. I'm trying to be a mom. I'm trying to work, full time. I'm trying to be in a relationship. I'm trying to people please. I'm trying to be the fixer. I'm being the control freak. I'm being all these things. And then that's just a trigger of a fussy kid. And I just want to lose my shit because I'm just overwhelmed. And as you did, you just come into the situation and it's like, okay, processing, this is what's happening. She's not listening. She's acting out. She's kind of fussy. Okay, we need a nap. No, I don't want to take a nap. Okay, well, let's go recharge, right? You make it playful and fun and make it sound like there's a really good purpose of having a nap. As adults now, I'm like, yes, please, I will take a nap.
Yes, absolutely. That should be part of every work day. Meditation / nap.
Nap.
That's right.
Well, I say a good 10-minute meditation is equivalent to like a 30-minute nap. So Because
I
you're
like
just
how you
recharging.
correlated. Yeah, it is. I like how you correlated, like you took what I was saying and then you like even took it further where you even had a bigger understanding of it. Because I'm talking about autopilot and my mind wasn't referring to their autopilot as being the baby. And that is so huge. Like that is huge. What does that make me write down something about a book? Because there's children's books that could be something along these lines. So that's what's popping into my head right now. But that's huge because it's remembering we have such an expectation of kids at a certain age to do a certain thing, but recognizing we have our own default, our own autopilot, and it's not, mine's not very great. It's working on being great. My autopilot's like, hey, wait a minute, stop. You don't like feeling like this. Let's do this. So there's a shift going on, but I've had to have an awareness of this growth in order to have this shift. But to recognize children have only been, I mean, my nephew or my grandson's 5 years old. He's only had 5 years on this earth. So his autopilot is only going to be for the first 5 years. And if you think about it, like when they first came here, like you just said, when they wanted something, they needed a diaper change, they needed food, they needed to go to sleep, they needed whatever, they cried. That was a natural thing. And we allowed that. That was okay as a baby. And now we're saying that it's not okay. And then even then, for me, when a child was crying or a baby, an infant was crying or anything like that, you would pick them up and soothe them. You would check their pants. You would check everything. You go through this whole process. And it's like you would also hold that child close to you and then pat them gently, just in bringing them into a calmness. And it's like, that's been lost too. Even for a nap time, that's been lost. And it's not, and I hear this all the time. It's because I said so, because I told you to that.
Because I'm the adult.
Sorry about that. Something was coming through at the same time. So I'd like booped your face.
Boop. Yeah. And I'm the adult. You need to listen to me. I know better.
Exactly. No, the baby's telling you, hey, you're throwing your own temper tantrum, adult, in your own adult way, your adult temper tantrum. You do it all the time. And then you do that at the kids.
And the child's like, also, I'm picking up on your energy. So you need to check yourself.
And I had a few people that I've worked with when I've done Reiki and pulled in their children, and I'd start feeling like the neck pain and back pain and stuff. And then I'd be like, this isn't about the baby. This is all about the mom. And that's when I recognized, even when I was doing that distant healing work, it was never about the child in the first place. Right. And I would always tell my kids, they're a gauge. We've talked about that too. Your dog, your pets, and your children, because they're a gauge. If you're crazy on the inside, they're crazy out on the outside. Right. If you're nice and calm, they're nice and calm, period.
Yeah, there's an interesting dynamics, and I had an opportunity this weekend to talk about it a little bit, but there's the father who had his own internal issues of being aggressive and controlling and loud when he got angry, right? And has a daughter who is scared to death of him because of his loud booming voice and his temper. And no, she was saying, shoot, I'm just having a moment today. I don't know what the deal is. What were you talking about?
Oh gosh, I was just talking about how just honoring kids and their them being able to, their autopilot's a lot younger. I don't know exactly where we were at with the conversation. Because then we started going into the parents and their own temper tantrums and.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so here's the father, and he's just like what I described, right? And then she's born into, and main is parents get divorced, and she's living with him. Like he's the full-time parent, but she sees the mom, and so she, learning to navigate when she's around dad, what to do, what not to do, right? How to keep the waters calm, the fixer, the people pleaser and all that. And then has a son. Now, she's older and she has a son. And the characteristics of the son are similar to the dad. And years ago, her and I had a conversation, and I, at that time, she was just beside herself, and she was just internally a mess. And I was explaining to her about energy and how, children are very receptive to our own energy, and you can put that mask on and act like everything's okay, but inside you're a mess. That's what children pick up on. That's what your animals pick up on. And she was not in a space to hear that at that time. And then here last year is the same ones who I helped take care of during his transition. And so coaching her through the process, because, he had when he came home, he had a month to before he transitioned. And he was angry about that, and, had all that pent up emotion. And when, he, in that time, when he got frustrated or whatever, then he got demanding and loud, and she, being in her early 40s, late 30s, would revert immediately to that little girl. And here I am, I'm witnessing this, and like now I'm taking her in the kitchen or outside, and I'm coaching her through it, helping her recognize. But even then, she still wasn't in that space to completely receive and understand energy. And then this weekend, so now we're like, a little over a year later, she's talking about the characteristics of her dad and the characteristics of her son and how similar they are. And she's like, why do I have to do this with my son too? And I said, because you're not getting it yet.
That's right.
You're still working on it. You're still practicing. You still have some layers of healing to do. And she's like, well, I'm really done with this shit. I'm like, well, you will be when you heal. When you decide not to give it attention anymore.
Yeah. When you're not pushing against it, when you're not, all that stuff. Then it gives the son no longer has to be in that space either. Right. It's like it gives him permission to move forward, because now he's being this person that needs to reflect back to her what she hasn't evolved from. Right. These triggers that she has within inside of her, which is a huge opportunity to experience gratitude and appreciation for these times. Because, and then that goes back to the whole thing, life doesn't get easier, we just get better at it.
Right.
I heard something, I was listening to this, these people talking in the last few days, and one of the things was, we talk about gratitude and appreciation, and if you think about it, gratitude, appreciation, love, that is our currency. People talk about money being currency. Money's not your currency. Money's just energy. It's just plain neutral energy. It's nothing. But when you think about love and appreciation and gratitude, those are a high vibrational frequency. Those feel good when you take the time to feel it. And we've gotten to a habit of, here's your plate of food. Okay, thank you. And then you start eating. But that thank you is a flat, right? You don't feel an energy of it. And then the person said that what he's learned to do in these spaces was to take his hand and put it over his heart and really think, thank you. Like really taking that moment and feeling it. And now you're feeling that appreciation, that gratitude, that love, and all those things. When you're in that space and now you're feeling that energy, you're not just saying the words, you change everything. Everything changes for you. Everybody changes around you. We don't, and I feel like I've got to say this, because we don't have to do all these things. Like we have to go, well, I have to go out and be this certain way, so this person doesn't be this way anymore, and this person doesn't be this way, act this way, whatever. But when we get into these spaces where we're in that space of love and appreciation and gratitude, then everything just changes around us. Everything changes. Right. And that's how it appears, and that's how it is easier.
Yes. If you so choose.
That's right. Welcome to free will, baby.
Welcome to free will. Well, my friends, words of wisdom from Amie and Bev today.
That's right.
I think maybe we should change the name from Tea Time to Words of Wisdom.
There you go.
We appreciate your time and energy. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Any final words, Miss Bev?
No, what was hitting my mind was BA wisdom, badass wisdom. Bev and
Badass.
me.
All right.
But no, have a great, wonderful week and take the time to put your hand over your heart and feel that appreciation for all the things in your life, whether it's something that you would choose to have as an experience or something that's come into your experience for you to grow from. It's all an opportunity.
And the eyes are communication.
Yes.
Hand on heart, and the eyes speak through your eyes.
That's right. Love it.
All right, my friends. We pray for you to have an amazing week, and we will see you next time.
That's right. See you soon.